Welcome to our celebration of service. We're glad to have the Honorable Mayor here and many other individuals that we'll introduce here in a few minutes. I know we've been warned that they're having some difficulty with the technology here, so bear with us. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. That sounds a little better. Thank you. Thanks for your patience on this, but they did warn us that our technology problems were going to exist today. And some people in the back say, pull it up a little more if you can. Yeah, we'll start over.
Testing. Yeah. Okay. It's very loud.
Thanks.
Just put that on your.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. All right, let's try it again. That sounds a little better. I'm Ron Barnes, and I welcome you to our celebration of service. It's wonderful to have the Honorable Mayor here and several guests that are here on really her behalf. The thought for the day: miracles happened to those who believe in them. Bernard Berenson. We have a reflection today. Dave Meyer.
Thank you, President Ron. Okay. I'll wait for just a second for Tyler to get ready. Those of you who attended our meeting last week got kind of a preview of what I'm going to talk about briefly here. I'm taking the reflection time to talk about our club Rotary refugee effort. So I'd like to spend a few minutes reflecting on our club's planned refugee resettlement work for the coming year. Those of you who attended the meeting last week saw that we've been busy with refugee work for the last 20 months. Originally, we had planned to talk last week when we were not online because of security issues associated with Afghan relatives that remain behind in Afghanistan. This is why you see redacted information in this presentation. Jawa here, pictured, it has a nephew that narrowly escaped murder by the Taliban, who's been stranded in Indonesia under house arrest for a decade. He can neither work nor become permanent because Indonesia does not have a refugee policy. It does not accept refugees, and the country is not a signatory to the UN Treaty on Refugees. Sadly, Nassim is but one of 6.4 million Afghans that are externally displaced outside of Afghanistan. The good news is that Nassim has been granted refugee status by the UN High Commissioner on Refugees, UNHCR. This allows him to be permanently resettled in a third country that does accept refugees. He was granted the status because of the credible threat of violence if he returned home to Afghanistan. Nassim has been stuck for 10 years in what I would describe as a situation not unlike the claw carnival game in which you put money into a machine and a tiny crane swings out and you try to grab a toy from the enclosure. Unfortunately, he is the toy in this analogy. He's watched a number of his friends get resettled over the years, but no country has asked for him yet, until now. We are using a program run by the nonprofit organization Welcome Corps. It was set up under the Biden administration to relieve pressure on local refugee resettlement nonprofits like the local exodus refugee immigration. Under this new model, private resettlement sponsor groups agree to handle all the tasks associated with initial resettlement and to put forth the money that would normally go to an exodus-like organization. One advantage of this program is that we get to pick the refugee we wish to bring into our community. It was a logical choice to bring Nassim here to be with his family. Nassim's local family will initially offer him a place to live, and the club will make sure that these initial resettlement costs are not borne by them. We have a group of 6 club members that agreed in writing with Welcome Corps that they would help resettle Nassim. May I ask the Rotary Team Nassim to please stand and be recognized? You can't see Sally Gaskell because she's online, but I'm sure she's standing as well. But in order for this effort to be successful, we'll need help from all the club members, or at least a number of the club members. Here are some of the things we've agreed to undertake with Nassim to help him successfully integrate into life here. So he will get off the plane and we'll pick him up and we'll have to clothe him. So a trip to Goodwill will probably be the first thing. Provide furniture for him in the apartment that he'll need. Teach him about life here. Advance his English skills. Mentor him, and so on. So there are a number of things, lots more than on this list. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to stay around after the program today and answer them. Thank you so much.
David. Now for the introduction of guests, we have Claire Kest, who used to be Teresa Claire, AKA.
Okay. So guest, if you could please stand when I say your name, and we'll have 2 guests introduced by Charlotte Zitlow. Elizabeth Mitchell is a guest of Jim Bright. Desiree DeMolina is a guest. She's with the Mayor's Office, Communications Director. Noah Yeager is a Rotary Global Scholar, and he will be speaking on July 9th. He just completed his undergraduate studies at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and will be reporting to King's College London in early September. Eric Ost and Kyle Siebert are guests of Jeff Richardson. Joyce Kaplan and Francine Marseille are guests of Alon Barker. Carol C. from the International Harp Competition. And Carol Seaman is a guest of Tracy Jimanovic. Anushka Pandey is a guest of Charlotte and Jim Bright, and she's the intern for Timothy Peck. Robert Wolford is a guest of Wendell St. John. And I will turn it over to Charlotte to introduce our 2 guests at her table.
Thank you very much. We're lucky today to have 2 candidates. But they're not here campaigning because we don't campaign in Rotary. But anyway, they're here. We're lucky to have them. Tim Peck is running for his to become a member of Congress from the 9th District, and he has a wonderful mixed biography that brings to he's a doctor, a medical doctor. He owns businesses, and he's been very active for years and years. Tim, you'll tell us, is that right? Okay. Anyway, and he's been working very hard in this for the 9th District. That's the whole state of Indiana, basically. And we have another guest, Tom Horrock, Horrock, who's running for the who's running for the state legislature in District 62, which is currently held by somebody from Seymour, from Jackson County. But Tim is a really good candidate also. And he has a lovely wife who's another one of the women ministers around here, which is interesting to me. So anyway, we'll welcome them, please.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Claire. Joy, any visitors online?
No visitors, just Rotarians.
All right, thank you. We have some birthdays to celebrate today. We have Marshall Goss on the 20th. We have Jim Harvey on the 20th, and we have Peter Croner on the 20th, and Jillian Rich was on the 17th. So congratulations to all of you. And we have some Rotary anniversaries to celebrate. Forrest Gilmore, 1 year. Amy Kendall, 1 year. Amy Osajima, 7 years. Caleb Bohr, 1 year. And Martha Wales, 11 years. Congratulations to all of you. Michael Shermas, chairman and very adequate chairman and wonderful chairman of the program committee, has a few things to share with you.
Just adequate. The program committee will be meeting next Tuesday after our program. We're going to talk about what kind of programs we want for our club. It's a tricky thing trying to get the right kind of coverage for our programs. We need to ensure we cover topics like the arts, sports, government, culture, technology, travel, environment, education, business, and more. We have to ensure we have people from IU, nonprofits, local government, and businesses represented. We need to have people of color, different ethnicities, and different points of view to ensure we have diversity represented. We have to consider our own members who want to speak to us, and we get lots of solicitations from people who want to speak to us too. We have demands from many members who think that the speaker they suggest absolutely needs to come in front of us. Trying to consider all these factors can be challenging. Nonetheless, I'm standing before you today to make it more complex by asking you all to make yet more suggestions. Feel free to send me or Jillian, the co-chair of the program committee, an email with suggestions on who you would like to see speak to the club this next year. And we are booked right now to the end of September at this point. So do it by this Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. and your suggestions will be considered by the program committee. We'll be changing it up so that more suggestions by club members are considered, and we will meet twice a year to stay on track with our choices and the will of the committee. I will mention a big caveat and say that no matter how many suggestions we get, and last year we had over 80, we can only take about half of those. So not all suggestions rise to the top, but they are all considered by the committee and later Jillian and me as we try to navigate requests to speak, people dropping out at the last minute, and other challenges. I will tell you that we continue to receive a lot of kudos over our choice of speakers. And while we can't always please everyone all the time, we will continue to do our best. And one other thing, I just wanted to let you know that the program chairs from all of the Rotary clubs in town are now going to be meeting quarterly to exchange speaker ideas. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Again, excellent job. We had a Juneteenth, the city had a Juneteenth celebration and Rotary was well represented. We have a picture that we're going to put up because there's several people. Patrick Smith really organized this for us. Kyla Cox-Deckard took care of all the logistics to get us all set up. Charlotte Sitlow was there. Tracy Ivanovic was there. They helped me at this table event. And it was a wonderful opportunity to have Rotary represented at this very important celebration. One other announcement, we do need help for Teachers Warehouse on July 13th. It's when we have our supply drive. And again, it'll be in the roundabout, but please sign up and help us. We need representatives at several of the clubs. Also, June 25th, next Tuesday, we'll have a past president's dinner at Sarah Laughlin's, thanks to her. And if you haven't, as a past president, RSVP'd to me, tomorrow is the deadline. So we'd love to have you there. We're going to have a full house at Sarah's. Now we have happy dollars. So we know that some of you are happy, so let's share your happiness.
I get to go first. $20 because I made a bet with Miss Charlotte on, move your hand so everybody can see. She bought these earrings Saturday and they are bigger than her. And I said, I'll give $20 if you wear those. And so she did. And then another $20 to celebrate my nephew Caleb's 1-year anniversary and the garden tour this weekend. So if you can come to the garden tour, we're on it at our house and I'd appreciate seeing you. And do we have other happy dollars, Sandy Keller?
I am giving $10 in celebration of the 10 years coming December 2025 that my sister's closet will be at its current location. And my congratulations and thanks to the CIB board and all the community people who were involved in the decision to expand east instead of south where my sister's closet is.
Okay.
I have $20 to celebrate my happiness that I belong to a club that cares so much to be able to rescue this gentleman from purgatory in Indonesia. Thank you.
Lori, was that you I saw?
$50 in celebration of my parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
And online, do we have anyone? Joy?
No.
Okay.
$20 in honor of my husband, Tio Savage. We've been married for 1 month today.
And best wishes to you.
And I guess I'm going to level with you and have $50 put in as well. $50 to celebrate 2 of us being married for 25 years. My wife and I celebrate our anniversary this week.
Any other happy dollars?
Thank you very much for your generosity. Again, the happy dollars go to Teachers Warehouse, and they can definitely use these dollars. Now, to introduce our great program today, Jeff Richardson. Jeff? Okay, good.
Where do you put it?
Just hold it up.
Oh, hold it. Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. So many of you have known Kerry these past 27 years since she got to Bloomington. And a lot more of you learned about her during her campaign for mayor last year. I'm going to be very brief about this because I want to spend more time on Kerry than on me. She had a successful 20-year tenure as the CEO of Habitat for Humanity. When she took over, it was in debt. When she left 20 years later, it had basically more than $6 million in mortgage portfolio, more than 400 houses built. And actually, for the last 7 years of her tenure, Habitat was the leading developer in the county. She also then became, in 2018, the executive director of the IU Center for Rural Engagement. The programs there enhance quality of life and economic development in rural Indiana. She started with 7 counties when she took the job. And when she left, there were more than 50 counties that were engaged. I think it was 57. And incidentally, now it's up to 81. And today, more than 3,000 students are engaged and more than 53,000 residents are engaged. Let me go back now how I met Kerry. This was part of some of you may remember the UDO, what was called multiplexes everywhere, the plan by the previous administration and pushed by some council members to put multiplex institutions or buildings, apartments in every neighborhood. And there was a lot of controversy with that. And I was asked to chair some of these meetings in Elm Heights. And we had the mayor speak, we had various council members. But during these early meetings, one person kind of stuck out to me, that she was able to listen, discern, and then always come up with great ideas. And I asked afterwards, Tommy Allison, who lives across the street from me, I said, who is this person? What, this Kerry person, what about her? And Tommy sang her praises and said, you know, how brilliant she was and how astute she was and how lucky we were to have her as part of this neighborhood debate. So anyway, when I called her, I just cold called her. This is during COVID. And I just said, look, I just want to meet you. I'm just so impressed with how you are interact with others and listen and contribute so positively. And then just as an aside, I said, I think maybe you should consider running for mayor one day. And I thought this was a big, you know, it was my idea. Then it turns out that Charlotte had actually said that to her years before, but revealed later, but Kerry didn't tell me right away. So there were several things that came up during that discussion and debate with the mayor and the council and others, but Kerry actually came up with some solutions. And without giving you all the specifics along the way, the compromise that we ended up with, where we had more, if you will, bold buildings along the transportation corridors, but preserving the neighborhoods, was actually Kerry's idea. And that was carried forth with a lot of work behind the scenes, working with the mayor, working with the planning department, with the council, and never 1 minute did Kerry seek any kind of attention or adulation or acknowledgement for that work, which is another reason I love Kerry. Then I want to just fast forward to the campaign trail. She did a lot of listening and learning, which I'm happy to say she continues to do as mayor. But it was real. It wasn't just these sessions, but I was privileged to be part of a lot of meetings with her where discussions were about strategy and approaches and that type of thing. And she actually did listen, and she actually made decisions about what to do or what not to do. And she did have the tie-breaking vote every time. It wasn't everyone just voting on something. She made decisions often, but she actually listened and listened carefully. And that impressed so many of us. She also stayed focused. There was a lot of people coming up with different drama. You know, he said this, Susie said that, Johnny said that. And she would just say, stay focused. And she has continued to stay focused now that she's mayor. And she also went door to door. She hit, I forget the final count, but it was well over 2,000 doors. And she was talking to people, and I got to witness a lot of these conversations. And again, she did more listening than talking. So I am reminded of a Harry Truman quote that he said while president. He says, it's amazing how much you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. And Kerry's been that way throughout my experience with her the last several years. And but my favorite quote just happened about a month ago when I asked Kerry, how are you doing? How do you like being mayor? And she said, I can't wait to get to work every single day. I love this job. And I actually got kind of choked up when I first heard that. I still get choked up because that's exactly how she does feel. She loves what she's doing. She does it all in. She's tremendously smart. She's experienced, compassionate, kind, willingness to work with others, transparent and focused, and most of all, humble. And it's great pride that I introduced my friend and our new mayor, Kerry Thomson. Just put it on.
No, I have it here.
Oh, you have-
Give it back to him. I think that's what's needed. Well, I think Jeff said everything I needed to say. So knowing that you only accept half of the applicants to speak here, somebody must have canceled. And that's why I'm here. And so thank you for having me. And I could just ask for any questions if since Jeff has talked so much about how much I like to listen and discern and then lead. I'm really grateful to Jeff and also Charlotte and Tracy Yovanovich I saw earlier. they all worked really hard on not only my campaign, but helping to transition into office. And we're all very clear supporters of letting me lead in government the way that nobody else has led in government yet, and really just discerning what is right for our Bloomington in this moment. And so I am committed to continuing to do that, and I am grateful for the invitation to speak with you today and to talk some about what we are doing in this community that we all love so much. I can't believe this is the oldest Rotary in town, and it's the crowd here is obviously so committed to improving our community. It's been a very busy first few months at City Hall. And as you can imagine, I've had an incredible learning curve. I had never served in public office before. And even though Charlotte thought it was a great idea when she first planted the idea that I should run for mayor, I did not. And it was with a great deal of hesitation and trepidation that I finally leaned into running. However, today I am happy to report that not only do I love showing up to work every day, I often wonder what work is, because it's such a privilege to be in our community and with our community and visioning forward for what we need. We've built an incredible team at City Hall. We have just a really incredibly talented cabinet, and we're plowing ahead. Not only with the vision that I forecast during my campaign, but also things that we've learned from you all along the way. Since January, we've been focusing on improving processes and efficiencies and increasing our transparency and working together to engage the community and really listen to you, our residents. We've released a number of reports and documents, and those are up on our website. But if you have trouble navigating, and we do promise we're going to get you a new website so you can find things, feel free to reach out to my office and we can help connect you with any of these documents. But we've also formed resident advisory teams that have advised me on major decision points, including Showers West and Hopewell. We've also hosted town halls throughout the community, and I've started doing traveling office hours where I visit one-on-one with residents at a local restaurant or coffee shop. And we've worked hard to invite in new people to serve on boards and commissions, and I know several of you in this room are already serving on our boards and commissions. This is incredibly impactful work, and I am going to encourage you now and later to consider putting your name in the hat for those boards and commissions. My goal is not only to welcome everyone into government, but to demystify government, to make it clear and compelling for those who want to engage, and efficient and effective for those who just want us to do our jobs so our community can thrive into the future. Our future is a bright one. We have a lot going on, and I say this often because it's true. We are living in a truly historic time for our community, and the decisions that we make together over the next few years will shape Bloomington's future for decades and even generations to come. I'm talking about Hopewell, the Trades District, and the Convention Center. These are individual projects, yes, but they're also part of a bigger vision to transform our downtown and help us to attract new talent, more investment in the community, and improve the quality of life for everyone who lives here. One of the reasons I ran for mayor was to restore and rebuild partnerships like these and get these projects moving forward. And I'm proud to say we're doing just that. The city is working closely with our counterparts in county government and with the CIB on the Convention Center. A site was recently selected, and I want to talk for a minute about why I'm so supportive of the Convention Center, and I'm sure Joyce will take your questions afterwards. Thank you for your service on the CIB. As has already been mentioned by Sandy, the site has been selected and a construction manager has been hired. which I'm thrilled is our own local Weddle Brothers. And while there's still a great deal of work to be done, real progress is being made towards advancing that convention center. Once completed, it'll be a major calling card for Bloomington. With its increased capacity, the new convention center will help bring in a projected $18 million in new revenue each year and allow us to compete for more convention and meeting business. It will also create between 40 and 60 full-time jobs, not to mention the 200 or so construction jobs that will go along with this project. It will also be a benefit to our downtown businesses by helping to provide customers year-round. As many of us know, in the city, with the students going mostly virtual during the summer, our businesses are really suffering. So please go downtown and eat until we build this convention center. The convention center is going to draw people to the city, not only when demand is naturally high, like football season, but also during these slower periods in the winter and summer, and Sundays through Thursdays. And that'll help bolster our downtown. It'll help our hotels, our restaurants, our retail outlets. And at the same time, I'm thrilled with the progress that's being made in the Trades District. In addition to the mill, construction is underway at the Forge, which is a 22,000 square foot office building that will house innovative companies and technologies. There will also be a hotel in the Trades District, a tech center, and we will soon welcome offices for Energy Sciences Network, a newly established networking and services provider funded by the U.S. Department of Energy that will connect 17 national laboratories and 28 user facilities in a high-performance network and facilitates big data scientific research. Both sites are linked by the Beeline to the Hopewell neighborhood, which has seen a great deal of behind-the-scenes work completed over the last few months and will enable us to move forward to major construction soon. These game-changing projects will also help to support our local businesses, especially those downtown. As your mayor, I want to do all that I can to help support our local businesses by creating growth opportunities like this and by removing barriers to their success. One of the biggest challenges we face, and many of you deal with daily, is the number of people who are unhoused and the lack of housing for our workforce. As former CEO of Habitat for Humanity, I understand the dire need for attainable housing, specifically in this moment, workforce housing for those who want to live and work in Bloomington. I've tasked our team at the Housing and Neighborhood Development Department with analyzing and finally implementing the recommendations of the 2020 and 2023 housing studies to craft a comprehensive citywide housing plan. That's a step. Simultaneously, I've directed staff to find ways to eliminate red tape, streamline our processes, and identify barriers the city may have unintentionally put up over the years, resulting in this piecemeal approach to housing. We'll soon launch a team to look into other ways to improve our housing ecosystem, align the city's policies with our community's values, and hold builders, developers, and owners accountable for the promises that they make on affordability. Solving the housing crisis isn't going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen without your help and input. And as we take these steps, my administration will be reaching out to gather your ideas, so stay tuned. Equally important as developing more attainable housing options for our workforce is addressing our challenges with our unhoused neighbors. Since becoming mayor, I have begun to regularly convene meetings with our dedicated service providers, our nonprofit organizations, and faith leaders to help develop a more comprehensive and unified plan. As you can imagine, this is not as simple as finding a place to camp or simply putting some sleeping mats on the floor. To truly address this long neglected crisis, we are developing a plan for supportive caseworkers, mental health care, and to help those who are in crisis levels of substance use. We have also partnered with the faith community to open a new emergency shelter during extreme winter weather, and working in coordination with those service partners have cleared several encampments over the last few months. Safety is our priority, as is respecting the dignity of those who are living outside. We are doing what we can to offer housing and services to people who desire them. Again, this is all very much a work in progress, but I'm excited about the potential it has and the alliances we are building to address this issue collectively. This challenge affects us all, which means we need everyone rowing in the same direction towards a solution that actually works for our Bloomington. Together we can and we will end street homelessness. From the city's perspective, we are working on a whole host of other issues, ranging from infrastructure improvements to bike safety, public safety, and trash pickup. I want to specifically mention one such project, and that's the Sheridan project, which many of you may not have heard about yet. This is a proposed water detention project that's being considered to improve stormwater prevention in order to prevent flooding downstream. There's no design as of yet, and we continue to get feedback from the community. But here's what we know. It will not be a gravel ravine, which is the assumption made by some. It will include wildflowers and native plants and the removal of invasive species. The city is also working with the urban forester to find ways to preserve and protect the old growth trees that are currently there. Our goal is to make a beautiful rain garden to help keep extensive flooding out of the stormwater system during extreme weather events. Why is this important? There are only 4 swaths of city-owned land where projects like this are possible. And as climate change continues to make a dramatic impact, we will need to use all of them in creative ways like this. These solutions help with flood mitigation where we create them, but more importantly, they function together as a greater system to make dramatic impacts on the dangerous flooding we have seen downstream. Flooding that killed a member of our community just 2 years ago. This and other projects that I've discussed are all significant, important, and impactful, but they can be made better by you and our neighbors, friends, and family. What each of these projects has in common is that they are individual projects that contribute to a greater cloth in our community. They cannot be evaluated on their own. They must be observed in the context of how they contribute to one another. And that's why I'm asking everyone in this room for help. Consider volunteering to serve on a board or commission. Join us for a town hall and share your thoughts about an issue that you care about. Attend a city council meeting. Run for office. Really, you. Run for office. I firmly believe that our government and our community won't reach our full potential until we have everyone at the table sharing their lived experiences and different perspectives, bouncing ideas off of one another, challenging assumptions, and making ideas and programs better through respectful dialogue. To do that, we need everyone, and I mean everyone, at the table. As a mom, a former nonprofit executive, and now as mayor, I'm reminded daily that I don't have all of the answers. In fact, I have very few. But if we all come together and share our ideas and expertise, we can co-create solutions that actually work and address challenges and opportunities that Bloomington faces. Thank you to you all at Rotary for having me, for the service that you all are committed to in our community, and for your time and attention today. I'm happy to take questions. And 15 minutes of them, I exceeded expectations there.
Do we have any questions? I know we do. Phil, I'm shocked.
Shocked. Mayor Thomson, you mentioned the things that this community values. How can we help you better identify, clarify, and weave together messages that are specific, that that have language that resonates, and everyone can better understand what those values are.
I didn't even ask Phil to ask that question, but I'm so glad you did. Here's how you can help. So you all met Desiree De Molina earlier today. She is going to initiate a process where we are going to do just that. And we're not only going to articulate what's important to us as a community, but it's very important in this moment that we put into words who we are as a community and where we're going. Because without that, when people ask you, why did you come to Bloomington? We all have a half an hour story about why we came to Bloomington. But Bloomington needs to be known in 3 or 4 bullet points to capture somebody's attention for why they should visit, why they should move here, why they might support their children in coming here, right? Why it's a great place to be. So Desiree is going to be digging into that process, and it's going to be full of community involvement and input. And what we will really need is ideas on how to get the people that don't usually come to meetings to come talk to us or invite us to come talk to them. As I mentioned, I started doing traveling office hours. With the exception of one person who has signed up for office hours, everybody who has come has not been somebody I've seen at a public meeting. And they've told me things that I can see why they don't want to share them in public, including an undocumented resident here yesterday who's living in deplorable conditions and is too afraid to report the rental to hand. You can't say that in a public meeting. How are you going to get your government to enforce a rental code? So these are the kinds of things that we need to be doing to make our government accessible to the people we're serving.
Other questions?
First of all, I would like to thank you for attending my neighborhood association meeting, and I'm sure you've been all over town. I would like to know whether you have any opinion about whether city government can impact the removal of homes from the marketplace because of property owners who see opportunities to expand their personal wealth and continue to buy homes and rent them, by people who see opportunities in Airbnbs. I believe we have over 500 homes that sit empty often because they are rented as Airbnbs. I find that we're talking about probably 1,000 homes where people could be homeowners, they could be taking care of their property, they could have a yard for their children to play in rather than live in an apartment. And I wonder if the city can have any impact on the direction that this community is taken with not owner-occupied real estate.
So thanks for the question. Let me answer in 2 ways. We're looking at that in our housing plan. So how do we incentivize people to rent their houses in an affordable way if they are landlords? And is there really anything we can do about what I think is probably a growing number of full-time Airbnbs? And I want to be clear, some people have rooms or they will rent their house out for a weekend, and that actually helps them afford the place they're living in, right? So they live in a house and they'll rent it out on weekends or something like that. That's different than having an Airbnb full-time. Unfortunately, our state legislature, you can put somebody else in the state house if you want. Our state legislature has put the lockdown on our ability to really do much about that. And so, doing much about that with a stick is one way to look at it. Looking at the carrot side is always an option. So we're going to look at the carrot side. And I think, you know, when we're looking at building more housing and retaining the housing that we have, we need to always be asking, how can we incentivize especially middle income housing? And the details of why it's hard to get that middle income are too complex to discuss right now. But there's enough subsidy to build truly affordable housing, so 80% and below of the area median income. And then there are people who can afford to pay for homes that are completely unsubsidized, whether they're rental or owner occupied. We need a mix of people in Bloomington. And increasingly, we are a bimodal distribution of wealth. And if we want a healthy community, we need to do something about it, and housing's the way you do it.
Could I ask you to opine just a little bit about how you see the future of public transportation in Bloomington? You know, there's some interesting initiatives, and I'd like to hear your view and your vision on that. Thank you.
My real vision, and I don't know if it's going to happen during my lifetime, but I would like to work toward it, is that we have a public transit system that runs every 10 minutes all over the city, and that it's easy and accessible no matter how your body works to get on, and that the transfers are efficient. The challenge is our transit system, everybody's transit system, is funded by how much ridership you have. And so if it takes, when I was a single mom, I had 2 kids at 2 different drop-offs. It would take me more than an hour and a half to get from my house to work riding public transit. It's not realistic. So we need something different, and or we need to get more people riding the bus. And so honestly, if you want to talk about an all play, if all of us ride the bus once a week, it actually would make a difference. Costs $1, right? Even if you just take one route, we track the ridership, it makes an impact. It's frankly it was easier for me to get to work on a bus than it was to take a car. It's easiest on a bike for me. But now that I'm at City Hall, it's not as feasible. So we need efficient ways to get around. I do want to take this opportunity to share with you a program that many of you may not know about, which is our micro transit program. This is how we have extended the service hours of our public transit system. Rather than running all of our bus routes all over the place until 2 in the morning, we shut down the buses when the ridership drops at about 9, but we have a subsidized Uber program. And so the city will actually pay for your Uber through our app when the buses aren't running. And that's incredibly efficient. We frankly think it's a big part of the future of public transit, not only here, but elsewhere. And it's going to be a critical piece of connecting our city transit to our greater region. So we already have the pilot project up and funded, and I encourage you, if you know people who need to get places before or after the buses start running, use that micro transit. There's still money in there.
Okay, Joy, do we have a question online? We have time for one more question.
No questions online.
Okay, Mr. Wicks.
So I say this from the perspective, I'm a motorist, a bicyclist, a runner, and a walker. And it seems like over time that motorists are driving faster, they're running more red lights. Pedestrians and bicyclists are sometimes doing rude or stupid things. Where do we stand in terms of full staffing in the police department? And is there a will to enforce speeding tickets, to give out tickets for running red lights?
There's a will to enforce tickets for speeding and running lights. And this is another thing that's going to be an all play. We just found out IU greatly increased the pay of their police department. we're going to take a hit again. A lieutenant in the IU police, which is lower risk policing and frankly, less work. A lieutenant there is now making as much as our chief. It's budget season. We're going to need to do something about police pay. It's just that simple. I have done the free things that I can do, take home cars and some other things. We're just going to need to look at pay. We're going to need to look at other things too, but we do need more police, and frankly, we need a mix of the type of police that we have. So every time we can get a sworn officer, they are full-blown officer, and it's we have very few downtown resource officers who do the on the street. Really, I would just call it ministry, mostly to the to unhoused people. But they're working upstream and downstream to reduce crime and doing it very compassionately. So we've got to do something about our police force, and I've done what's free.
Hey, Ron, Roy promised me he, quick question.
Do you know how to get Indiana Fever tickets to see Caitlin Clark?
No. I love the question, though.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, she has to leave for another engagement, so we won't have time for other questions, but obviously she said she'll take your questions anytime during the year, so please contact her if you have any questions or concern. But Mayor, you honor us by being here today, so thank you.
Pick me again next year.
We will be an honor of her presentation, making a donation to Hoosier Hills Food Bank. And we really thank her for her presentation. We have some acknowledgements because obviously this meeting wouldn't exist without the help. Obviously, Natalie, who's always there to help us. We appreciate that. Our greeter and introducer did double duty in Clarkest. Our reflections by David Meyer. Our reporter this month is Sam Udak. Zoom manager Joy Harder. Camera mic operator Tracy Jovanovic. And obviously Tyler Martin Nichols for his great work. Our next meeting will be in the State Room East on June 25th. It'll be my last official meeting as president. and John Jody will speak on CDFI Friendly Bloomington. So with that, if you will stand and we'll say the four-way test together. First, is it the truth? Second, will be beneficial. Third, will be beneficial. Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?